Well, last time the Eagles played the Super Bowl, as we all know, they faced the Chiefs in Arizona, and one of their coordinators left his bags there and stayed. And the question is Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, just going to be moving into the head coach's office for the Saints? Tom?
Well, here's the latest I can tell you, Rich. We just reported this a few minutes ago. Saints GM Mickey Loomis called the other remaining candidates this morning and said that while there's no final decision, they plan to meet again with Kellen Moore after the Super Bowl. You're not allowed to talk to him this week. You're not allowed to talk to him during Super Bowl week. The soonest that this could happen would be February 9th is the game. February 10th is the next day. With Gannon, that was a little bit different because they had not even interviewed him. There, of course, was eventually a tampering charge, and they gave up a draft pick for it here. But Kellen Moore, had the initial Zoom. Then he had a meeting in Philadelphia, I believe it was Monday night. But basically, how the Saints feel, from what I am told, is that they just didn't have enough time with Kellen Moore to, reach a final decision. Having said that, Kellen Moore has been setting up staff and figuring out who's going to be coming with him. All indications are that he wants this job. And Mickey Loomis right now, if he wanted to hire Mike Kafka or Anthony Weaver or Darren Rizzi, he could do that. Kellen Moore is the one guy who can't be hired until after the Super Bowl. So you have to connect the dots a tiny bit on this, Rich, but I think it's fair to say all indications are right now that Kellen Moore is the top candidate for that job. And yes, quite possibly he's not going to need to get on a plane to head back after the game on Sunday.
And with all due respect to you and your reporting, and along with Ian's as well, I was connecting dots when I saw McCarthy say, I'm focusing on next year. I mean, there's a job opening here, and one that he, obviously knows this organization. That made it seem to me that he was reading tea leaves that they were going to go in another direction. Cliff Kingsbury, similar. So, listen, I know we all want to know something concretely now, but it sure looks like this is Kellen Moore's gig, Tom.
Exactly. I would say that that's a fair read on the situation, barring, something catastrophic here. In terms of Mike McCarthy, it's a little different because Mike never interviewed for the job. I know that some people have misreported rumors about, the talks went badly and stuff. They never talked. And Mike's known Mickey for a quarter century since he was the offensive coordinator of the Saints back in 2000. They could have brought Mike in at any point and done an interview, but they kept kind of, I don't want to say stalling because there was a snowstorm in there that changed the cadence and, and those sorts of things here, but they never set it up. They never booked a plane ticket for Mike McCarthy. And at some point you're sitting there and just going, this doesn't feel right. The last thing that McCarthy was going to do, because he did, he took a run at the Bears job. And from everything I was told, that interview went really well. They just always had Ben Johnson. That was their number one candidate. They ended up paying what it took to get him. With New Orleans, there was going to be more of a conversation in terms of Mike McCarthy and even being interested in that job. And listen, there's challenges in New Orleans, whether it's the salary cap, the fact that you're locked in with guaranteed money into Derek Carr, you've got an old, expensive roster. You're granted in a weak division, one that you would think, hey, this team is built to win now. When I say that, I'm not saying that they got the best roster in the league. What I'm saying is you don't have a roster that looks like this, is composed like this, if you're not thinking we're winning in 2025. So, for Kellen Moore, who's interviewed for several years now for head coaching jobs, it sounds like this is one that he is, obviously intrigued enough to continue to go down the road on it. With regards to Mike McCarthy, I mean, we've talked about this before. You put his resume up against Mike Tomlin or Sean Payton, they look almost identical in terms of wins, playoff appearances, all of one Super Bowl. For whatever reason, Mike McCarthy doesn't command that same level of respect in the media or among the fans. But absolutely, when you look at a cycle like this one where Mike Vrabel came back and Pete Carroll came back, I would anticipate that Mike McCarthy is very much in that mode. And with 7-8 jobs opening every year, I do anticipate he'll have opportunities coming up in 2026.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.